Live from DCTV channel 97.13, this is the Doane College Student Congress Senator Debates.
I was wondering, good evening, I'm Emily Hallstrom and welcome to the Student Congress Senator Debate, hosted by Doane Student Media. This debate is a continuation from last week's Student Congress presidential and vice presidential debates. Teleprompter. The point of these debates is to show candidates' views and stances on issues affecting Doane students. Also, you are encouraged to get involved by submitting questions throughout tonight's event. You can do that by tweeting at DoaneLine or emailing doaneline@doane.edu. Tonight we have 8 candidates who are running for Student Congress Senator. These candidates are Josiah Oyebefun, Nolan Vogel, Peter Strobel, Stone Hood, Coleman Bauer, Cody Redford, Spencer Feldkamp, and Dalton Bichlmeier. Candidates, when discussing tonight's questions, please limit your answers to under a minute. Once each candidate has been given the chance to answer the question, others have the opportunity to debate that answer. If you wish to do so, please silently indicate to me that you'd like to make a comment, and we'll start the debate process. At the end of each question cycle, audience members will also have the opportunity to ask a question or ask a candidate to clarify. To do this, please indicate to me that you'd like to ask a question and walk up to the podium with the microphone. Now that we have the rules out of the way, how's everyone feeling tonight? Are you ready? Awesome. Well, let's begin here. First question, why do you want to be a Student Congress Senator?
Good evening. I chose to run to be a student senator because I saw it as a great opportunity to serve the students of the campus on a whole. And I think that my qualifications in terms of my organization skills and the fact that I am a very responsible person and my interpersonal skills have helped me so far through college, and I feel like I can use these to help students across campus.
I chose to run for Student Congress Senator because I feel like it's a great opportunity to show my leadership skills. I'm also very organized, and I'm a very organized person.
I'd like to run for Student Congress because I think the best way to make a change is to start it yourself. And I really want to see what I could do to help everyone else. And so this is my opportunity to kind of talk to my fellow students and all of them and see the kind of things they want to be implemented at Doane, and that's what I'm running my platform on. So, thank you.
I wanted to run for Student Congress because I honestly believe that we can make a change. And everybody here has a voice, and everybody at the school has something to say. And I feel that there are things at this school that have been done and that are just tradition, and I feel like I can break that up and bring in a new wave of good things for this campus.
I will be honest, I did not want to run for Student Congress, and I still don't. But the reason I am running is because I honestly think that I am one of the best suited candidates for this position, and I think it is my duty to give back to the school by serving as on Student Congress.
I'd first like to thank Doane Student Media for putting this on tonight. This is a great opportunity to let the candidates get to know some of the students and hear some of the concerns that they have about Doane's campus. I decided to rerun for Student Congress because my freshman year here at Doane, it was one of the best things that I decided to do around campus. It allowed me the opportunity to reach out to the students around campus and let their voices be heard, and that is why I'm rerunning, is because I believe that I have great capabilities in being able to voice the opinions of students around this campus of diverse backgrounds.
I made the decision to rerun for Student Congress as well, as just like Cody mentioned. I did so because I believe I'm a good leader and a strong voice for the students here on campus, and did a good job during my first year in office and helping with all the events that Student Congress put on.
I decided to rerun for Student Congress. This will be the third time I'm running for a senator position. Through my years of being a Student Congress senator, I've seen Stuco grow amazingly. I've seen how we as a Student Congress can make Doane better, not for a group of students, but for all students. And I want to make sure that continues to happen.
Okay, next question. What issue or issues will you be most focused on changing in the next school year? And on which StuCo committee would you most likely serve? Starting with Dalton.
One thing that I really want to focus on as a senator next year is when we're doing our allocations to make sure we're consistent in where we're giving our money and how we're giving that out. I've brought up a couple times in meetings throughout this year. I think it would be really good to keep improving the allocations handbook just to make sure that it's clear for all students so they know what they're doing. Now, what was the second half of that question?
Which StuCo committee would you most likely to serve?
I've served on the environmental committee and also the safety committee and how it's reworked. I would really like to keep working on the environmental committee. I've started installing the water bottle refill stations across campus. I'd like to keep doing it throughout the campus and some other projects as well.
To answer the first half of that question, I'd say the part that I really want to continue working on is Student Congress this year has enacted a few changes with the meal plan, as well as just the food selection in the cafeteria. I'd like to continue working on that. We've had talks about implementing a committee that helps decide the meals for the students. I think that's something that needs to be sought through to the end and see that so we can really hear students' concerns about what they like and dislike about the CAF. And to answer the second half of the question, I'm already on the Food and Technology Committee. I believe I'd be best fit to reserve on that committee as well because I already have experience dealing with those. And that was one thing I really want to help students do. That's a big concern. One thing I hear the most about when students walk up to me and address me about issues is just like food in the cafeteria, what they're getting for their money, and such issues like that.
Yeah, the issue that I would most likely focus on in this upcoming year is we've been tackling a lot of issues that occur and you never know what's going to come up, so you've got to be able to be flexible as a Student Congress senator and as a Student Congress body. So a few of the issues that I would look at next year is allowing more opportunities for students to get involved in all sorts of activities on campus and make sure that they have the opportunities through funding their groups, like Dalton had mentioned about the allocations. And the committee that I would most likely want to serve on would be the Students' Rights Committee because all students have the opportunities and they should all be equal opportunities. So it's the Student Rights Committee's job to make sure that those opportunities are being provided to the students. Thank you.
The biggest thing I would like to focus on next year if I'm elected is helping the student body realize how important it is to Doane. Think of it like this. Without us, there would be no college. Our tuition pays for things. Everyone here should be working for us. That's how important the student body is. So I could go on and on about the things I've talked with about students of, paper towels in the bathrooms, fix this pavement here. But the important issue that it all comes down to is realizing how important the students are. And after that, we need to make the students realize that. We need to make the faculty and staff realize that. And after that, I think the small changes that we want to see for the better will be much easier to make. So I believe I'd be best fitted on Student Rights Committee. Thank you.
In my search for what kids here are concerned about when I was running for this position, something was clear to me, and there's a disconnect between the upper level people in our school as well as our board members and anybody that's in a place of power. There's just a total disconnect, and there's no communication between the higher ups and us. And what I would like to do, and I don't know where that falls under, but is bridge the gap between our students the people that they're like an invisible force that are above us that we have no communication with, and they might show up once every year, and they have all the power over our entire school, and we basically have no say in it. So that's what I would like to do.
I would like to run for the Students' Rights Committee because I feel like, as a lot of us probably seen this year, previously I'd heard a lot of people talk about how they weren't like really sure what Student Congress did and they weren't like confident. But personally, as I've seen this year, I think we've seen a lot of like progress. For example, we've seen like the change in the food plan and stuff, and so we're seeing like really good action. And I think we're having a lot of growing confidence in the Student Congress. And I'd like to help become involved in that and just keep on instilling the confidence, because when the students become more confident in like what the Congress can do for them, I believe then like they're actually more willing to like get serious issues to them, and that actually gets changed, and then like there's less complaining and more like satisfaction, and it helps the student body and the Congress both feel like they're both important entities to the college.
One of the issues I want to focus on is housing, because I've seen recently that students feel uncomfortable because they're being forced to stay on campus when it's their right to stay off campus, and it's basically like saying, hey, we want to be treated like adults, but you're treating us like children. And also basically modifying the quads and the other dorms on campus, because as we saw last spring, if you were here, there was a lot of flooding that happened, and it's basically like ankle level high, and it's unsafe place to live in. So safety and student rights would be my main places.
One of the issues that hits close to home for me is that I would like to work on the Student Congress would be enhancing the experience of international students on campus. The office I would like to work in, or the committee I would like to be a part of when I join Student Congress, I see myself as a very flexible person, and I feel like wherever I am placed, my passion would be shown to it, and I feel like I could work in any area once I am serving the student population. Thank you.
All right, the majority of students on Student Congress are or were in the Directions program. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think even when you're representing a group of people, you still need to be able to be a great leader, because you have to have direction. And as you said, the name of the program is Directions Program. I myself was not in the Directions Program, but in my country and where I come from, I've been in youth empowerment programs and leadership programs, so I feel I've learned the qualifications of that. And I feel like in every day as we go through school, especially in the science programs, we learn how to be leaders, how to follow our intuition, how to also listen to others. And I feel like leadership is important when you're serving people as well, but I think it's even greater to be able to listen and hear the concerns of the students.
It's simple. They just want to be leaders.
I am not in the Directions program, but I know a lot of people who are like candidate Redford. And a lot of them are like really good leaders off the bat, because like the Directions program picks you like based off of your potential to be a leader or like what you already exhibit. And so if you already have the characteristics to be a leader and stuff, it's only natural that when you get into an environment, you're kind of already like ready to try to accept responsibility. And so anyone that like is picked for that, I think they just end up eventually Student Congress or other like top positions, because like that's like what's important to them, and people run for what's important to them or to pursue like what they fit best as a skill set.
Yeah, I believe that it's similar opinion, but I think that they want to mold students into what, have already graduated from here. They want kids that might not have that much of a voice, that won't speak out because, I could possibly lose my position in Directions, or, I don't fit in. And I think that we here break the mold, that if you're not in their Directions crew, and if you're not in that certain thing, you can kind of stand out and not have anything to lose. And I think that's where a lot of success comes from, is not having anything to lose. You don't have a position, you don't have a reputation in something that you have to uphold. So I think that it's great that we have a program that wants to present leaders, but I think personally myself that people that come from a different background, that aren't tailor-made to be in a position most of the times make awesome leaders because they understand, a different mentality rather than something that's factory made or just created and pushed into their brain. So.
I am not from Hanson. I live in Sheldon. I think there's so many Hanson people because they're naturally more often leaders. I think it's just kind of natural that they fall into that role. However, having said that, I think also, like I said, I can't say this for certainty because I'm not in Hanson, but I think if you are in Hanson, it's easier for you as a freshman maybe to get elected. It seems like you have a closer knit group from the start, more people you know. And I think it's great that Hanson kids are in there often. They're great leaders, like I said before. However, I would say that a person living in Sheldon or in Fries or in Smith will have a different experience as a student and will have different opinions on things. And those should be represented too, instead of just having, like 99% of student Congress, people who are in directions or in Hanson. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Emily, for asking that question, or whoever submitted it. And that is definitely a very, very important issue because something that we want here on Doan's campus is to be able to have diversity in the Student Congress because, like I was saying in my opening statement, that the Congress is there to voice everyone's opinion. And if the Congress is not diverse and not being able to reach out to all the other students, then we're not doing our job. And it would be a shame for a Congress to not be diverse. That's why I'm excited to see a very diverse group of candidates running this for this next year. And as far as the Directions program goes, I'm a member of it, and it's been a great experience for me. And just like they were saying, those people might look to seek out more opportunities for the leadership roles. I don't necessarily think that benefits them, though, in seeking out a position as a student Congress senator. It's the ability to be able to voice everyone's opinion. And as a student Congress senator, I want to be able to reach out to as many people as I can of very diverse backgrounds on campus to be able to represent you the best I can. Thank you.
To answer that question, I'll go along with like what a lot of people said, and that we do want to have a diverse group of people representing us. That's what Student Congress is for. We're here to hear the concerns of students, so we definitely want to have a diverse background for that. One thing I think needs to be noted is that this year we've had some positions open up, and we've had to, as a Congress, pick different people to come in. And we personally brought that up in our own discussions about how a lot of people are from the Directions program looking to other areas, seeing who we can find, and pointing out that we don't want everyone from Greek groups either and stuff like that. So we've really done a hard process trying to hand select people who show interest, because it is a time commitment. I mean, everyone should know that. It is a pretty big time commitment. It's not just the meetings. You have to go outside of that and get your work done. And we have work to do that. And then to answer the part about Directions, pretty much just what everyone said, that to get into the Directions program, you have to show initiative to fill out the application before your freshman year even here starts. It is a selection process for leaders. So obviously those people are probably well fit to fill a position on the Student Congress.
Yeah, Spencer set that up pretty perfect. Exactly how I wanted to answer that question is the the Directions kids, they are picked for their leadership qualities they've shown throughout their high school life so far. And so when they become a Student Congress senator, they are already primed to answer any of their duties and fulfill them as they're needed to be.
Great. Next question. As a StuCo senator, what unique traits will you be able to bring to the table? And as you guys are all answering, make sure to hold the microphones close so we can hear you.
I come from a different country. And one of the things I think I'll bring to this definitely is a fresh pair of eyes. I have ideas that have been implemented in a different country that have worked that I've not seen implemented in these places, in a place like small Crete or even a small school like this. And I feel like that's one of the best things I'll bring. Two, I listen to the concerns of the student population, and that is my number one goal, just to put forth what they are concerned about. And I am organized, and I am someone, as they said, a leader they showed initiative in terms of filling out the application or whatnot. I don't think you need to go through a program to learn how to do that. I think that if you have your priorities straight, that takes you, that is like a quality that takes you through life. And I think that's something that we should practice. Every single person, whether in the program or not, should practice. And I feel that being able to manage your time, as he said, is a very time-consuming activity. Being able to manage your time is definitely a quality that is necessary, and I believe that I am constantly mastering that quality every day.
I'm a fighter, so I will obviously fight for students' rights, even if they are not if they're like small. I'm a good listener also, so if they're like small, like, oh, hey, we need to have this sidewalk paved, I'll fight for that because, who knows, someone might trip and fall and scrape their knee. I'm a good leader, not only being in a Greek group, but also being like a stage manager for theater. I'm a very diverse person.
I think I'd be a good candidate for this, and yes, a lot of us are kind of have, except for Josiah, have like similar backgrounds and stuff. But I think some good things I could bring in are, for example, I'm an RHA, so I've not been student Congress, but I'm an RHA. So I've kind of like been able to work with Res Life and the other RHA members to like help on the issues and stuff, and kind of help with student concerns because RHA works with everything in the residence halls. So we're like the smaller group besides student Congress that like helps their concerns. But also like since like maybe the age of 8, I've been like Boy Scouts and stuff, and I've had to learn how to get along with others, how to like lead, how to be prepared for everything. Yes, that is the motto, but whatever. And like also like helping in special needs camps and stuff. I've had to learn like patience, had to learn how to like be self-independent, tolerant, and all of other skills I think would come in handy for handling diverse views and also a lot of stress for the course load and getting things done.
I personally believe that my fearlessness, I'm not afraid to step up to any kind of position of power or anybody who is governing us as students. There's all of these statements are awesome, but I really think that it takes something to create a force and to create something like buzzworthy that allows us to push things forward, that allows us to get things that we want done completed. And I really think that it takes somebody that is not afraid of, maybe raising, a little bit of hell out there. I think it's, I think that is a quality that I possess, and I look forward to it.
I am an Eagle Scout like Peter. I served on my student council in high school for 3 years as president for 2 of them. But I think what really sets me apart from other people here today is that I've been all of year been a member of Doane Student Media, who is hosting this debate tonight. So I think that I'm very well informed about what happens on campus. I did a lot of work with Student Congress during my time on the OWL. So I won't claim to be an expert, but I do have kind of an outsider's perspective of how it works maybe. I can bring fresh ideas in. I'm well informed. I can hopefully help publicize Student Congress in the future and make us more accessible to the student body at whole.
Yeah, I would like to hit on 2 characteristics that I think qualify me to be a good student Congress senator. The first thing is Josiah was mentioning a little bit earlier, leadership is through service, and one thing that I've always loved to do is serve others. The thing about Student Congress is that you're reaching out to everyone and trying to figure out what they need. And so that is something that I pride myself in, is being able to find or see what other people's needs are and go after, get about how they need those needs met. And the other characteristic that I think would make me a good Student Congress senator is my leadership ability, that I'm not afraid to say something. One thing that I've heard students say around campus is that Student Congress seems to agree with each other a lot, and that's right. We do come to a lot of conclusions together, but that's because we're debating things, we're discussing things, we're talking to each other, and that is one characteristic that a student Congress senator must have is to be able to listen and to express their own viewpoints. Thank you.
To start, I think one trait I possess is that I'm a very personal person, like very approachable. I think that makes me a good candidate as a student Congress member already. I'm not afraid to sit down and have a conversation with anybody, allow them to come up and express their ideas to me. Second of all, I have experience. I think that's a key trait in this. I've been through the meetings. I've had experience going out and talking to different faculty members or like the head of safety, different things like that to get things done on campus. So I have that experience. And lastly, I'm also in a lot of different other groups. Going back to the diversity part, I feel like I have a lot of connections through that. I can hear a lot of different students' voices. That allows me to know a lot of different people on campus. And again, that just makes me more approachable and allows students to voice their concerns to me.
So a few things that make me stand out from some other candidates would be I have 2 years of already experience serving on a student Congress. I know exactly how this works, how the process works, what projects are projects that are doable, and then what projects are way out of our scope that we can do as a student Congress, which I think is very important for senators to realize so they don't get their heads in the clouds too much. Other characteristics that I have is being on the track team, in a Greek group. I'm also been on Greek council, so I've worked with all Greek students. I'll be the president of that next year as well to go for some leadership qualities. I'm well connected, also with the faculty and staff of Doan, getting projects done. And lastly, being a major with a triple minor, I'm in class with a different variety of students every different day, which really, really helps out when you need to get student feedback.
I'll let you make a follow-up comment.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment that would level the ground a little bit for all the candidates. Is that if it was based solely on experience, then in the American elections they would not have a re-election every 4 years, or they would not change over a president every 2 terms. They would have just continued with the same president, especially the successful ones. So not being on the student Congress previously does not take away from our ability to serve you as well. That's what I just wanted to say.
Next question. How will you seek out and hear opinions of students, especially underrepresented students, such as international students and commuters?
The way it kind of goes off just the answer that I just went over is being in the totally different classroom activities that I'm in, and then also as the extracurricular activities I'm in. That's a great way to contact students. Also, working as a Doan ambassador, I've gotten to know so many freshman students, and then also giving tours to international students, then also hosting students, that I feel that I'm very well connected with all the groups on campus.
Going along with what Dalton said there, like I mentioned in my previous statement, I'm already in a lot of different activities and clubs, and like I said, I'm very personable, approachable. I've worked with international students on different class projects. I've developed pretty good relationships with them, and I'm the type of person that's not afraid to go out of my way and just say hi to them or whatever and allow them to like feel comfortable around me. So I feel like that qualifies me in regards to this question, the fact that I am capable of just going out and talking to anybody and making connections with them right away.
Emily, I'm going to ask you if you could repeat that question one more time for me.
Yep. How will you seek out and hear opinions of students, especially underrepresented students, such as international students and commuters?
Awesome. Well, one thing is that I think the Student Congress does a great job of already, and we have been doing for a while, is that there's the accessibility on the Doan website that you can submit a concern anonymously if you want to, and that is something that probably not enough students know about. It could be something as minimal as maybe there's a concern in your residence hall that needs to be brought to someone else's attention. We can direct that to where we need it to be directed to. But your concerns can be heard through that. And another thing is, if you're not comfortable coming up with someone, that's one thing you can do. But if you are, you need someone as a student Congress senator who is involved in a lot of different things on campus. And that is probably the biggest quality that you all should be looking for in a candidate is someone that you see around campus a lot. Like Josiah mentioned, the experience isn't everything, but where that student is more so the frontline thing in this candidacy, who's running. So, yeah, thank you.
I'm involved in fairly wide variety of things on campus. I'm friends with lots of people who are in a diverse group of. I have a diverse group of friends who are involved in many different things on campus. I'm easy to approach. I like talking to people. I like hearing their stories. I'm pretty well informed about what goes on and what happens on campus through my work with Doane Student Media.
I think it's awesome if we have candidates that are well involved in our school, but I believe that where it comes to is, are you brave enough to ask the question? And so that was my approach on my I guess we could call it our run for this office. Is when I went out and I asked people to sign my sheet when I was out, what would they, I guess you could call it campaigning, but I asked each student that signed it, what are concerns? What are some concerns that you have? So I've already begun this process of asking kids, what do they want? What are the things that we need on this campus? As well as being able to ask the kind of scary questions and talk to people that would most of the time be very unapproachable to a lot of the general population. So
earlier, Mr. Redford mentioned how it's very essential for everyone to kind of feel the same, like how we have an equal playing field and no one feel like they're prioritized. I think sometimes it can interfere with groups and make it harder for them to actually come forward about complaints or even individuals if they feel like, for example, maybe the Greek groups or something, their priorities matter more, or someone else. We have groups like the Guild and a bunch of others that all have their own concerns, but sometimes I feel like maybe some people don't feel like what they're saying is going to matter as much because they don't have representation or the influence with alumni and stuff that would make it possible to be heard. So I think it's important to have the message you're all here as students together. We all care about you. And so anything you say does matter and it will be heard.
It's more than just going up to the person and talking to them. It's literally just asking them, hey, how's your day? If you can't see them, message them Facebook or text them or something. Where was I? Oh, yeah. It's more than just that. Yes, we're all diverse, but however, not everyone will have the same backs, or other groups may feel or do feel like they don't have equal playing grounds. For example, the Guild has been getting a lot of hate on social media because reasons unknown, because people do not like them for some reason. So they may feel unsafe. They may have talked, but no one has really done something about it.
To start, I will say that international student I am, Greek group I am, sports team I am, commuter I am. What else? So I understand what it means to be underrepresented, but that doesn't mean I will. That doesn't mean I'm saying that I know all your problems. As I said, a listening ear is better than one who speaks. So understanding from where you're coming from, I was still making my best. I'll still do my best to still hear your concerns and make sure it's brought forward because we probably have the same concerns as well. Thank you.
Stone, I'll let you make your comment.
Yeah, kind of going back to the issue with the Guild. I think in our school, there's a lot of instances where a lot of things go unaddressed. A lot of things you might not know about it or you might not hear about it, and I think that we should bring more attention to these issues that we have on our campus. So I believe he raised an incredible point about that, and I think that getting out and getting amongst people, and because in such a small school, you feel almost like you're in a small place, and it's not. This is a family. This is a community. This is as much of a community as a UNL would be. So I want you to know that you guys have a voice out there, and that if there is ever anything wrong, please raise these issues. We want to know and come up to us, or file it anonymously, whatever it is. But we want to hear about it, and I think that that's where a lot of disconnect comes in, because you feel like you don't have a voice, you feel like you don't have a place to say, but you do. So,
Josiah?
Yes. I'd also like to point out that even before Student Congress, that I have been making moves to actually care for the concerns of underrepresented students. I'm active in the group that Jordan Zona started that speaks about, that goes about educating others of the concerns and problems that underrepresented groups have. I'm a peer mentor for underrepresented students, like minority students, I should say, that are struggling with their schoolwork, especially in the science area, but not limited to. So I care about your concerns, and this is just one step further to show my care for your concerns.
Stone mentioned how, like, as a small campus, there's a lot more opportunity. And I'd like to kind of make a side note about that. Even if you're not running for this or something, and if you ever feel underrepresented, like, in this school, there's so much opportunity to, like, get your voice out, or start an organization, or join an organization and, like, become president or something. And then you can be able to, like, get something done that you couldn't think before. Like, we have a lot of staff, like the president and everyone else, who all really want to see change happen and see like a good reputation. Like, it's like no one really wants to like get like bad rep or anything. So if you ever have complaints or anything, don't just post it on Yik Yak. You got like go talk to someone about it. Get something done. That's how you'll have like actually feel happy about this stuff. Posting on social media won't make it better.
Next question. What improvements have you seen StuCo make that you would like to build upon, if any?
To start off, the change to the meal plan, we went through that process. It was actually quite a lot of work to get that done. But those changes, I think, are very much exactly what Doan needed. When we met with the Sodexo representatives, we absolutely loved their ideas, and they were willing to work with us. And that's one thing that we as a Student Congress have learned, is that Sodexo is more than happy to work with us. And so I would like to mention that also to students, that if there's ever a problem with food, please talk to Tony, talk to one of your StuCo representatives. We have a food committee that meets every other week or weekly with Tony to go over exactly what needs to be done on that half to represent that. Also, other things, the environmental movements we've done so far. So the water bottle refill stations, as I mentioned before. Also, the recycling bins that we've installed on campus. We need to keep improving on that. And also, StuCo has started a scholarship, and they're working on possibly on what other ways we can help students that are graduating, which I think will be a great idea for next year.
Yeah, going off of what Dalton said, I think the meal plan obviously stands out to a lot of students, and a lot of people don't realize the kind of work that goes into enacting such a change. We started that talk very early on in the first semester, and the changes didn't get voted on until here recently, about a month ago. So those talks, I sat in a lot of them being a member of the food committee. It does take a lot of work to plan out like what kind of changes you want to do, going through the process, having meetings, setting up that kind of stuff. Also, I think what Dalton mentioned, like with environmental stuff, I think a lot of the stuff Student Congress does for this campus maybe goes a little bit unnoticed from time to time, which is probably something we should address and point out. But I think also moving from individual projects to group projects this year has made a big difference. It's a lot easier to get stuff done when you have other people there, so it's not all on you. You have more power with more people. I think that's something that needs to continue in the future, as well as, like Dalton said, the scholarship fund that we're trying to get started here for paying for like some grad school applications and stuff like that for students. I think all those changes are good things that have helped our students here on campus and need to be continued in the future.
The one thing that I'm really excited about for next year, especially if reelected for Student Congress, is bringing our campus closer together through a variety of things. Candidate Stone talked about how there's some sort of a disconnect between the administration and the students sometimes. But there's also a disconnect sometimes between groups on campus, and not everyone knows what's going on, because one of the luxuries we have going to this small institution is that there are a lot of things that go on and that you can get involved in multiple things. Something that we were working on in student rights was to create a calendar that collects all of special dates of different organizations and things that students should know about that maybe they don't, because a bunch of emails is difficult to sift through sometimes, especially when you're a college student. So that is something that we'll work on building off of next year and make sure that the students know what's going on around campus and that they're buying into what's going on so that they're not being voiceless.
Well, first off, I'd like to say that I think Student Congress has done an absolutely wonderful job this year. The best example of this is the meal plan. I think it's really shown that if we can put the work into it, if we can get the student body's opinion and channel that, then we can really make a serious change on campus. I would like to see something like that in relation to the housing policy or some of the other maybe unfavorable parts of that policies that our school has. So I'd like to just build off of what Student Congress has started this year as far as empowering students and making us realize, I should say, that we are important.
I personally think that just this debate itself, since this is the first time that we've ever had them, I think this is an awesome step forward, because this is going to narrow the candidates down to get people who you believe are good people if you watch it, for the however many are watching, maybe 10 people who are watching. But I think going forward, I believe that the communication between higher ups, I think that is a huge thing. If I'm going to pay $39,000 next year, if that's going to be something that myself and my family are going to have to accrue that, and I'm going to have to accrue that debt, I want to know why it's going to go up another $1,000. I want to know why we have to do the certain things that we do, and understand why we're doing it, and not just get a blank email. Maybe have press conferences, for very important things and that happen in the school. Let us know, inform us, allow us to see things that that we might not be able to see, and regardless of whether it looks good or it doesn't, just be honest with us and tell us what's going on. Tell us the reasonings behind these things, and be big about it. Don't just send an email out. And especially with Doane University, with the change of the name, I got an email about it and nothing else. There was no big press conference, and I keep just getting more and more emails about, oh, well, pay attention to the new logo coming out. Well, I want to know why. And don't just give me Jack Carter playing his guitar. Give me some more things that we can use and we can see, and we can be passionate about this school, and that will allow us to have pride in our school, and we can make this not a joke anymore. Make Doane University mean something in the scheme of America, and rather than just a joke university that is hidden in a tiny little town in Crete, Nebraska. So.
I have a bit more positive view about that. I do think, yes, there's always going to be changes, but I'm actually running for the Student Congress because of all the good work I saw this year, and that kind of inspired me to actually run and become part of it, because when I'm seeing all these good changes start and see more confidence building an organization, it seems like a good thing to become involved in, because then it seems like a good outlet to get change to occur, or to just continue with a good change. I think that's actually the greatest success. I know the meal plan is great, the change, it's really cool how they manage that. But I think the greatest success for the senators and the Student Congress this year is actually instilling confidence in their capabilities, because that has long-term benefits. Because if you actually have a strong system and people have confidence in you, then we have things like this that siphon down candidates, and it makes it competitive, and then you get really good people. I'm sorry. I get distracted easily. I think, and when you get the good candidates and stuff, then you have the strength and the leadership to get things done, and things that were harder before or questioned. All of a sudden, with the good leadership, you can crack down on those, and then you'll see the changes that people are asking for. And so I'm just really happy about what this is going so far, and I hope others are kind of happy about what's going on so far too.
Great changes that Stuco has made is, again, the meal plan. I was not for it until I realized what I use my meals for. I don't eat in the calf a lot, so, I mean, it's great that we're using that. Also, it's like mentioned, the student concerns. Like, it was about a week. I remember then I forgot it until someone brought it up again. So if it was posted more around campus like posters, again, that would have been great for me to know.
So I'll give you just a little snip of who I am a little bit. Let me tell you, in primary school, elementary school, and high school, I was one of those guys that when I see people who are voiceless or people who aren't confident enough to make their concerns known, I would be the guy who spoke for them, even sometimes getting in trouble for it, as you probably know by now. So one of the things I really was amazed by was when I saw the polls going out, vote about the food, the change in cafeteria food. And I was like, oh, really? They listened about how we don't like the food? That's amazing. And I was like, this is a position that actually listens to the concerns of people and changes something that many campuses students across many campuses thought would not be able to change, Like the meal plan, the food is a big thing that everybody thinks is solid, written in stone. And Stuco was able to, I guess, finagle their way to change it. And that's one of the things I want to continue to do, just put forward the concerns and make credible plans to actually put them into effect.
Dalton, I'll let you make your comment.
I just wanted to comment on that Doane is a very special institution and where the students are welcome to sit in the Board of Trustees meetings, which is a very rare thing that not a lot of other college or universities have. So we are actually to attend those meetings and sit in on there. They only allow 2 people from Student Congress to attend those meetings, so that is true. But we are actually able to attend those meetings. And then a lot of those Board of Trustees members, they are busy. They have other jobs, and they do this for free for their love of Doane, which I think is important to remind them. So they're not around 100% of the time, but we do have people that are here all the time, like Carrie Petter now, the Dean of Students. We have Jack Carter. We also have Russ Hewitt, all people that love hearing student concerns. As one who goes and talks to Carrie Petter quite often, she always tells me about the concerns she's heard about and that she absolutely loves hearing what those students have to say and then passing them on to Student Congress so we can address those issues.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Dalton. And absolutely, like all of us on Student Congress this year and all of those administrative figures love to hear your concerns, and you have to voice them first. That's an important thing. I want to kind of reflect off of what Nolan was saying earlier with the meal plan changes. One thing that I think you guys can agree on Student Congress that we realized this year was that some of the disconnect between students and Student Congress was that the students didn't understand some things. In relation to the meal plan, is at first we found a lot of the negative feedback towards the meal plans was because they just didn't understand what it was. And change can be a scary thing at times. So Josiah's laughing over there. He knows what change is. We've all experienced change. And so back to the meal plan, though, we have to, as a Student Congress, be able to make sure that our students are understanding what's going on and things like that. And that, like I was saying, you guys can agree, that was evident in the meal plan change, that once students understand they are on board, they are there to support you. You just got to be transparent and clear.
Yeah, I'd just like to go along with what Dalton said, really. Like, this is a great institution. We've made the decision to come here. It is our choice to come here, first of all. And also, like, if you just look at the involvement on campus, how many different people are in different organizations, what our campus does for Relay for Life, what our campus does as far as standing with, like, Fulbright scholarships, this is a place to be proud of. I mean, I'm sorry that some candidates feel like we're a joke to other institutions or whatever, but I just feel like, personally, I'm very proud to be a student here at Doane. And touching on other subjects that were mentioned, as far as like emails go, Student Congress was the one that changed the meal plan. We tried to go out of our way. We hosted events, tried to get students to come sit in, have discussions. We held different group meetings to see like what their concerns were. We really considered that while we were doing the changes. We also tried to do like a town hall where people could come and talk to us, as well as we put posters up on campus. We thought that might be a little more visual than just an email and a notification on your phone. So we've gone out of our way to try to like provide students with information, inform them so they're more comfortable with the changes we're enacting. As far as like what the new logo change and stuff is, that's not a Student Congress change. That's outside of what we can do as a Congress. I mean, we can try to provide information and say, yeah, students would have liked to seen this happen and that happen, but as far as like the ultimate decision there, we were not a part of that. And as far as like housing, I know that was brought up earlier, that was not a Student Congress decision either. We're just here to help kind of implement changes, feel your concerns, and hopefully enact other changes that we see fit.
And I'm glad that you raised that. What I'm trying to say here is that if we have it to where you're able to go and the kids are able, or the young men and women, excuse me, are able to have communication, or they're able to like watch it live. So I mean, if and what days are they on usually? The board of trustee meetings.
Once per semester.
On like weekends, or is it like throughout the week? Okay, so like that not being present, I think just maybe if we make it a tradition, if we make it something to where kids want to get involved with it. You know, because I mean, how many of us are going to, we think our crazy uncle is going to show up to a board, they're going to show up to that and go and rant and rave. But I think that if we show up and we go and we are able to voice our opinion and we're able to talk to them, and we might be able to get our opinion heard. And in regards to the logo, I mean, I wear that on my chest. Like, we all wear it on our chest. We all are going to be representing Doane College in that way. I think we should have had a say in that. I think that Student Congress should have communication with people who are making those decisions. Because if it comes down to a case of pride, if it's something that I'm prideful about, I'm going to take it so much more serious. I'm gonna be proud to walk out on the court. I'm gonna be proud to say I'm from Doane College. Check us out. I want you to come to this school. So instilling a sense of pride in this school, kind of giving it a lifeblood, giving it energy. We have small things. Now, I think our sororities and fraternities have an amazing thing that they do, and that's tradition. It's crazy. It's insane around here. We need to instill that in all parts of our campus, in everywhere where we have a couple hundred people show up to our games, and whatever it may be. Have more people involved in this campus rather than just a place to go get an education and then go on and get a job. It needs to be a little bit more than that, and I think we can do that as Student Congress.
Middle ground here between Spencer and Stone. I agree, Doane is not a joke. It's something I'm proud of to be a Doane student, and it's something I think many of us, most of us, hopefully all of us, are proud of. Having said that, I realize Student Congress doesn't have a say in a great many things, such as housing, such as logo. However, given the fact that we're paying about $40,000 a year to go here, I think students should have a say in that. If I just want an education, I could go to UNL or UNK. I came to Doane for a reason, and I want it to be the school that I chose. I want it to be my school, not just a place I'm going to. So I realize Student Congress can only do so much, but let's fight for that. Let's fight for what we can and can't do.
I also wanted to make a point of information that the Student Congress meetings are open to all people to attend. And unfortunately, I don't ever see a lot of students ever attending those meetings. Which kind of makes me sad, because that is our time to directly talk with you, and you guys can see exactly what we do and actually hear the concerns. And that's one thing that I wish that we could improve as a Congress, is that we could get more people at those meetings to see exactly what we do.
Just a quick point of clarification. I've heard a few different candidates mention like the housing, and I know there's frustrations with that, but I just wanted to clarify that yes, the Student Congress actually does not work with that. That's like RHA and Res Life, and even like RHA and other organizations, we don't have much say over that, because that's like a more high level thing. And actually the problem that I think that, like, even frustrates some other people, like even people on it, is that like we have to we advocate for it, and yet like housing costs still go up. But the problem is like it's harder to like get the quads and everything's fixed and like get new housing because people live off campus, and you can't justify funding for more buildings if you don't have the numbers. And the problem is it's almost like a vicious cycle where people are going off campus to avoid the costs, but we can't improve the like living situation if we don't have people on campus. So that's just thought you might want to hear about that.
Coleman?
I agree with you, Peter. It does become a vicious cycle. However, I would like to point out that Doane has one of the largest endowments in the state of Nebraska. That's like a savings fund. And last few years, I believe we've been adding to it very, very significantly. So it's not like we're running out of money to do this. I know it's kind of a rainy day fund, but you don't need to be squeezing more and more money out of the students that are already putting themselves in crippling debt to go here.
Just a reminder to our audience that you guys are free to ask questions at any point.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Rachel, and as current Student Congress President, I take an immense amount of pride being here at Doane College and being a representative of the student body. It's something I'm incredibly proud of, and I take very, very seriously. So, Stone, this question is directed at you, and I don't mean to call you out, but some of your comments did concern me a little bit with that. We have students on this campus and alumni that take great, great pride in this institution, and with your comments being referred to that this institution is a joke, do you feel it is just to represent those students as a representative on Student Congress then? So my question is, do you think you are just to serve students while you think this institution is a joke?
Yeah, in regards to those comments, I would never take them back. Going back, and if you ask anybody outside of Doane and you ask them, either you get I have no idea what that is. So if you go and you ask anybody in the state of Nebraska, oh, I went to UNL, and you ask them, where'd you go? And they say, oh, UNL. You're like, oh yeah, the Cornhuskers. My statement is I want to move us away from being considered a joke, from being considered a second-rate school of, whether it might be athletics or whatever it is. We have, and what I want to clarify is that we have athletes on this campus that are talented. We have incredible people, and I didn't direct that at the students or the faculty or anything like that. But I think the reputation of the college itself needs to be improved. And I think that as a student body, we can improve that through not just saying pretty little things on advertisements or anything like that. I think that if we're able to go out and reach mass groups and we're able to get the word out about Doane College, I think that is what we need to do. And that's what I mean in the statement that I think that what I said earlier about Doane College. I think that in the realm of schools across the nation, and now I understand we're ranked in the best schools to come to, but how do you justify that? What does that mean? What does that really mean? We had people vote on it, and I don't know if that vote is correct, or I don't know what it is, but there's a certain thing that there's almost a disconnect here, and these are the things that I'm trying to say, is that how do you get people to take us seriously? Because I play on the JV basketball team, and it's embarrassing most times to go out there. We have 10 people show up to the game. Now, if that's not yourself being considered taken seriously, I don't really know what it is. Go to a UNL football game. If they sell out a 30,000 or however many thousands fan place that is, compare that to us here. We have a couple hundred people come to any of our games. I think that if we're able to go out and stretch out to the community, go out and stretch past Doane, past just our small little nucleus of family, I think that we'll be able to improve the reputation of this school. So.
Okay, just a quick comment to that is that no, we are not the Cornhuskers, but no, we are not a large Division I institution, and that is not the foundation of this college either. We were founded as a small private liberal arts college and to provide that small classroom experience and that centralized campus location for our students. And so that is something that we hold high to ourselves and with mighty pride in. And so I really don't think it's fair to compare that we don't have hundreds of students come to our games like UNL, and I really don't think that's a justification of the seriousness of this institution. Like Spencer has mentioned, we produce Fulbright scholars, Embry scholars, high how many Fulbright scholars? We've had 2 Fulbright scholars awarded this year. Last year we had 4. I don't know where our exact numbers are, but per capita we're at a larger amount than UNL. So I just really don't think it's fair to say just because we don't have 100 people show up to a basketball game that our institution isn't serious, because I think we're just a different institution. You can't compare us to UNL. We're not the same, and we are not meant to be the same.
Okay.
Some points I can kind of see where Stone's coming from, but I kind of don't view Doan as a joke, because maybe it's kind of a good thing we're not recognized nationally, because, for example, I believe we're in books like Colleges That Changed Lives and a bunch of others. Like, to the people that are looking for this kind of environment, we actually are on the map, because things like the Princeton Review and stuff, those aren't just like opinions and stuff. Those are facts that look at like the various factors of like your tuition, like your graduation rates, and like they're very analytical about what you do. And so that's like professional people looking at you and give you like a high grade. And so, but like we also aren't like Harvard and stuff, but maybe that's a good thing, because no one coming here is like looking to go to Harvard. We're not paying for Harvard. We came here for Doan. I mean, I personally avoided going to a big school where there'd be big games, because, I mean, yes, it's nice to have a roaring crowd and stuff, but I wanted to get an education. I wanted to be in a small classroom where I could talk to my professor by name and say to him, I have this concern, and he'd actually care what I said. And that's the kind of thing that, like, sometimes we overlook. Like, yes, not everyone shows at basketball games and stuff, and yes, that is kind of sad and stuff, but, like, no matter where you go, even, like high schools have 10,000 people just won't show up. That's just, like, a different factor that does not actually, like, affect the school. That's just, like, a personal, like, person thing that affects. So you can't, even if, like, we added, like, 30,000 more people here, got a national spotlight, I don't think it'd be fair to, like, call us a joke for that. I think there's a nice way of putting it. Like, I don't think you honestly think of us as a joke or stuff. I just think you're frustrated about some various factors. I think there's better ways of talking about this without, like, igniting tempers on both sides. And I think we kind of sacrifice some, like, civil, debate by going to such, like, harsh terms, if that's proper.
Spencer?
Yeah, I just want to kind of make the comment that I believe a lot of people do know what Doan is and what the Doan institution. I come from a small town here in Nebraska. I graduated with 50 other students, and anybody that asked me where I was going to college when I said Doan, yeah, that was my graduating class, come from a very small town. When I said I'm going to Doan, they all said, oh, yeah, great institution, great decision. Like, they know what Doan is.
You're from Nebraska?
Yeah.
How about, like, if you had friends in, like, California, would they know what Doan is?
Probably not, but like Rachel mentioned, we're not set up to be an institution like that. We're not a division.
Diversity is my question. How do you get better people in here how do you get more diversity if you're not, if you're not recognized anywhere else? Where, I mean, we have one kid from Japan here, and that's it, represented in the entire school. How do we get more diversity here when it's, I mean, yeah, you're talking from your point of view is from a small town in Nebraska. What's the broad point of view to where we can get more people from outside of just, oh yeah, good decision to go to Doan. Like they all know that. No, how do you get it to where, holy crap, like you are going to have an incredible career? How do you get that pride instilled in our school?
Well, to simply answer that question, I mean, if you look at the Doan College mission statement, it's not to say we're going to provide the most diverse atmosphere out of any college in the nation, the United States. That's just not what we're about. We're here to provide a great liberal arts education to the students that choose to come here. And with that, I think as running for student Congress, your concern should be more about providing the students here with a great experience, improving our own students' experience here at college. That's what we're having.
Having more people at the games, having a better environment of the school, having more people involved in the school, that's not a better environment?
I believe it is, but I mean, as we're trying to
that was my
talk
arguments.
here.
That was what my arguments were. So you're kind of contradicting your statement towards.
I'd like the freedom to talk here for a little bit without getting interrupted, first off. And then second off, as I mentioned, our mission statement is to provide a great liberal arts education. It's not to fill the stands at the basketball game. Like, I'm a huge supporter. I came to a lot of your guys' games. Like, I'm friends with people on the team. Like, I appreciate what you guys do. I play a sport here, baseball. We always see don't have the hugest crowds either all the time, but I think it's more about like what you want to do. And here at Doane College, I think you can have a great experience. You touched earlier on like the Greek life experience, and how like there's so much pride within that. I think that's a great facet here at Doane College. It's something that a lot of alumni, like people I know that went to Doane, I didn't realize they're in a Greek group until I joined one and we started talking about it, and they still have great pride in the organization they're a part of. I think that's something that you don't get at other schools. I think the small classroom atmosphere, you can't hide in the back of a classroom. You're not in a seminar class with 300 other students where you can just pass by. You're put out in the forefront. You're forced to answer questions in class. I think that's what Doane College is about. It's about preparing you for the job market and having a great experience while here at school. I mean, you look at like how well our football team performed this year. All those players and all the fans had great pride in that. I can remember like when we were ranked in the top 5, Doane Student Congress provided a charter bus so students could go to that game. Like, we paid for that. We wanted students there. We tried to get people to support the team. It was a national game of the week. Like, we want to have the athletics represented. We want to do that. But also looking at it, our mission statement
first,
here at
right,
Doane
yeah.
College is not to be the most diverse. We're not trying to get the most students from Japan here at our school compared to other institutions. It's just not going to be that way. We don't have the capabilities of that. Our thing is to provide a great liberal arts education for students who want to come here. Most of them come from rural Nebraska because they've heard about it. We also get diversity through our sports teams, and a lot of that happens through that, and it's great to see those students also become involved in other things and become ingrained in the culture. But as far as like your comments of us being a joke and stuff, I feel like that's disrespectful to a lot of the alumni that we mentioned that have great pride in this, and you keep talking about wanting to connect with the board of directors, wanting to make change. All of the board of directors, like we mentioned, have their own jobs. That their number one responsibility is not to be part of like Doane College Board of Directors. They do that for free. They come here, have their meetings. They have a lot to discuss during those meetings. I've sat in on those meetings. I realize like how time consuming they can be, and like the stuff that they have to talk about is very important. And they honestly don't have a lot of time to hear students' concerns. But like they're doing that on their own time. They want to provide Doane students with the best experience they can. And like they have great pride in the institution. Some of them fly back from all over in the country, help students find jobs. Like they're trying to do the best they can. But like you mentioned that we're a joke to them, that's not going to help enact change at all. That's probably just going to turn them off and shut your ideas out right away.
Thank you, Spencer. We'll move on to the next question from the audience.
I'm sorry, I feel like we're beating a dead horse on this one. My name's Anthony Anderson. I'm a freshman here at Doane, and I'm actually, I can't come to Doane next year, and it's killing me that I can't come to Doane. This institution is one of the best things that I think Nebraska has to offer, and I think that if I were to have gone to UNL, sure, they can pack the stadium with 90,000 people. That's great and all, but I came to Doane because there was a 1 to 13 class size. Like, that's something that's really important to me, to be part of a small community and to actually matter, not be a student, a student number that they look at. So I just wanted to say that comment.
Thank you, Anthony. We'll move on to the next question then. This is from the community. With moving to a university, Doane is aiming to increase its student body. Do you think this is going to ruin the small college of Doane? Dalton, we'll start with you.
When we started this change, I met with President Carter, and we kind of discussed some different things. And how I understood how this change is supposed to be is to really help out our recruitment for overseas in China. And that's exactly what I think it will do. It will help us bring more international students. But by no means will it change our school to 30,000 people or something like that. It's going to keep our school small, but it's going to help bring the diversity from China and things like that.
I feel like the question, honestly, is just a little bit misleading. I actually sat in on the board of directors meeting for that change. They really had a very deep and complex discussion about it because they were worried about changing the name to university. Is that going to affect the way we're perceived? Is that going to change the experience here? And like what I put forth in that meeting was the fact that, a lot of different schools in our conference were part of the Great Plains Athletic Conference, Concordia University, Nebraska Wesleyan University, soon to be Doane University. People chose Doane because it's Doane, not because it was Doane College. They chose it because of the place, the atmosphere, the experience that's been put in place here. And I just think changing to a university will only enhance that. Like, you brought up good points about wanting to bring diversity. I think those are all points that need to be heard and something that we should focus on. But again, it's not the main concern. And the change to the university ultimately just reflects our standing as a college. As like academic standpoint, we stand more as a university than college, and that was the main reason for the change.
Yeah, that last point that Spencer just brought up was exactly what President Carter had said in his letter to the students that he sent out via email. That what Doan is doing now is that they're doing what they've been doing for a long time. They're being a liberal arts institution. The name is just cosmetic. They're just switching over from college to university. It's been like that for a long time. It's not bringing drastic changes, but they're just doing what it's been for a long time. I love Doan. Doan is a great place. And one thing that I want you guys, all who are here, all who are up here as candidates, all who are paying attention in the audience, to think about tonight after this debate's done, just take a second to ponder on what makes Doan great. And what we're all up here trying to do right now, and hopefully everyone on this campus, is try to figure out how to make Doan greater. Obviously, we all have a different way of trying to go about that. No one here wants to see Doan go down the toilet. They want to see it succeed. And we're all trying to make it better. So, along with pondering what makes Doan great, I want you all to ponder what would make Doan greater.
Well said, Cody. I realize that this change is mainly to bring more international students to Doan. However, do I think it's going to be, massively successful? No, I think we will see an increase. But I don't think it will change anything. I don't think it'll change the campus culture, at least not short term, maybe way down the road. But really, I think it's just a rebranding of sorts. We've been a university for a long time in regards to, our multiple campuses, our graduate programs. So really, I feel neutral about the change, but I think it's overall going to be a good thing to recognize us for what we are.
Yeah, I think having, like I just said earlier, and it's kind of a funny question because it's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more kids in here so we're not just all thinking in a small-minded, small-town place. We want to get people that are not from, a population that, like, my high school was bigger than. I went to a school where my graduating class was like 350. And we have people that go to the Air Force. We have people that go and start businesses, are already in news radio, who are already extremely successful people from a large school that I went to in high school. These are the things that happen. There's a correlation between getting people from diverse backgrounds, getting people from big places, and putting them all together in one place. And it's a nucleus that forms of brains, of more smart people coming to one place. If you have a small demographic of people that are from a town of 300, if you have a graduating class of 50, the diversity there does not exist. It just doesn't exist. But if you go to a place that has more people, if you Google our school, I think the most recent notable alumnus is our football coach. We have not had any very awesome, look at anybody that has gone, in Google any university's massively successful people that have come out of those schools. It is not Doan College. We've had people that have done great things, but have not changed the entire world. That's what our campus needs to be producing. We need to be producing people that are altering the world, that are doing things that are pushing progress for us as human species, and not just so you can go and get a 9-to-5 job, or not just so you can go and whatever you want to do, like after you're done, but we want to go have people that are innovators, people that break barriers, and not have people that are just in it because I want to get a job. No, we want people that are in it because we want to. That's broad thinking, but I think it's a good purpose to have. So.
I'd like to counteract that real quick. There's a lot of big colleges and all over the world, and even if you have 60,000 people, that doesn't mean that having 60,000 people means you're going to crank out more notable people than a smaller college. For example, like ASU, Arizona State University, they have a Nobel Prize winner capacity bigger than ours. Do they have more like people getting Pulitzer prizes, getting the like Medal of Honor, all that? Not really. I don't think we're focusing on the right thing with that question. I actually wanted to like ask like for clarification. When you say community for Doane, are you talking about the college, or are you also referring to the Crete community? Okay, just Doane. I don't think we're actually going to change much because I feel like we're already have like our little niche and stuff, and we already have the image, and people know who we are. We know who we are, and we just change the name. You can change your title, but you're not going to change the body. So I think we're kind of coasting right now, and we're fine.
It's not going to be any different. Again, it's a small ratio from student to teacher. And also to go off Stone's point, there have also been notable alumni. One, for example, is Uncle Ben's killer from the Amazing Spider-Man movie. The first one went to Doane. Steve Joel, LPS, Doane alumni.
I disagree with two comments that were said earlier. The first was from Coleman. When I was coming to the U.S., I had to convince my dad of how college is the same as university. And my dad has a PhD. So it's the difference in, we don't see, in America, you don't see it as from the eyes of the rest of the world, but changing the name to university will have a great impact. Because it shows a level of prestige, which I believe the school already has. Which camera? And it takes away all that ambiguity of, oh, is it what you guys refer to as junior college, or is it a 4-year college? And the second one I disagree with was the comment said by Stone. The part of notable alumni. I just went to a speaker last week who she works with she's on the committee for the I guess, is it Native Americans? And I was impressed by her where she came from to where she is and the work she does. And people change the world by just one drop in a bucket. And that's what I think, that Doane is an amazing place. I chose to come here on my own, and I did my research on this school thoroughly. And I believe this school has produced notable alumni and is a wonderful place. And I believe the name change to university will actually benefit the school.
As far as the name change, I will take your word for it. With its effects on foreign audiences. I'll take your word for it, Josiah. As far as our notable alumni comment that's come up a lot in this debate, just because you're not making headlines, just because your name isn't plastered everywhere, doesn't mean you're not notable. I know with the journalism program, we've had lots of people who work in, New York, who work on the East Coast, who go all over the world, not just for the journalism program, but for all programs, and make, I'm sure, big differences. You can make a big difference working a 9-to-5 job. You don't have to be a revolutionary or, an amazing genius person. You don't have to be a Tony Stark to, I'm a nerdy person, sorry, to change the world. You just have to be using the lessons you learn here to positively affect and change the world around you. And I know as far as Fulbright scholarships, we're one of the top 50. I think I saw 8th. I'm not sure if don't quote me on that. But we have a very, very large number of Fulbright scholarships. Considering we're a school of 1,000 people, that's a pretty big deal, yeah. Thank you.
Just to point out one very impressive alumni from Doane. His name is Dr. Tom Tonages. He graduated from Doane, went on to UNMC, and then became a physician and a pediatrician. He did so darn well at his job that he became one of the top pediatricians in Illinois. And then he returned to Omaha and Lincoln and started a practice there. And he was actually a nation-renowned pediatrician for how his bedside manner, things like that. So And saying that we don't have notable alumni is absolutely outrageous. We have an alumni that has a patent on every U.S. airplane because he created the air conditioning system on there. Yeah, so I just would make sure that, check your history before you make some claims.
I think you've got to criticize the word notable. Like, what actually, because when you see the thing, you're like, Wikipedia is how you're thinking about it right now. Wikipedia will look at a college and will say notable, but that's only if you the Nobel Peace Prize or something, or you change the world. And that's the thing, not everyone can do that, but that does not mean you don't matter. For example, look at how many teachers come out of Doane. That's one of our best programs at Doane, and those kids they teach, that actually does change lives. And if you're gonna talk about notable, well, it's the teachers who actually teach the kids and inspire them to be successful that then create the rocket scientists and people who do change the world. So in a way, I think maybe we might be doing more than you think, because maybe we're not curing cancer and stuff, but if we get out the good programs and encourage people to do teaching, which by the way is not currently a flattering job, and a lot of people, I'm not a teacher, but people don't give them credit. If someone goes and teaches that kid, then just passively, you've already made a difference. So I think we should just give credit to some people who aren't in the spotlight, and remember that you don't have to be on the top page of Forbes or something to be a notable alumni. We're all gonna go and do something, even if you work a 9-to-5 job, that's honorable. Just do your thing.
Thank you, Peter. This is another question from the community to kind of follow up from the name switch to university. One of the largest reasons that Doane made the switch to university was to appeal to international students. Do you think it's important to focus on something like that for a small college such as Doane?
If it is a small college that accepts all students, yes.
No comment.
Josiah, out of all of us, had the most to say about this, and the most experience with this. So I don't think it'd be accurate for any of us to say of international students, because we actually have an international student to speak for them.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. One of the largest reasons that Doane made the switch to university was for the international appeal. So do you think it's important for such a small college such as Doane to focus on something like that?
Oof, yeah, Josiah has got the answer for that one. But yeah, I sat down with, I have my own show that I do, and I sat down with you. I think he's a sophomore on campus. I'm not sure what he is. He's a junior. Okay, yeah. So I sat down with him and kind of asked him, and he said he feels like an alien. He says he feels like he just doesn't belong. Because obviously, who is he going to relate with? Those were the questions, and I think that it's an awesome thing that if you're going to change the name, but the truth of the matter is in what I guess the argument I would say for us as a student body is that I think that we should have had more of a say in that. We had no say in the change of the name from college to university. I think it does give us a little bit more credibility, but it also does, and they've raised valid arguments with the fact of, a university does kind of carry I think of universities okay, is it a party school or is it something like that when I think of a university? So I think of, I think it has its pluses and its negatives, but I think that, international students are the ones to ask that question, so.
I would agree with Stone. To start off, I think the student body should have been consulted. I'm over that, though. I think it's a good thing to bring more international students. However, I would like to raise the question of why we're really doing it or why the administration is really doing it. And I would guess the fact that they would pay full tuition would, instead of getting a scholarship for half of it, would be something to do with that. Having said that, I think it's great that we have more international students here. I'm not against them in any way. I encourage to bring all who want to come. Everyone is welcome at Doane. But let's keep in mind the real reason and what it all comes down to why when we think about this.
Yeah, I believe it is. Thank you, Cole. I believe it is absolutely inevitable that in the society and world that we're living nowadays, there's no way to avoid people of different nationalities, different races, different cultures. And one way that Doan can do an even better job of doing that is by attracting the international students. It's one thing that while at Doan, we're trying to produce students that can become better citizens out in the real world after they graduate. And if you're not providing more opportunities to interact with international students, and part of that is a personal thing that while they're around you, you've got to reach out to them and you've got to hopefully interact with them, not just ignore them as if they're not there. But if there are more of them, that does help. And I do think that by changing the name to the university, that Doan is doing a great step forward with that.
Yeah, I just agree and think it's a great way to bring more international students onto campus without really changing the culture of what we stand for in general. So.
Okay, great. This last question is from the community as well. Through your discussions with various students, what do you think the most common student concern is, and how would you address it?
That's a really tough question because there's so many views on campus. So let me start by saying I've been to 3 colleges since I've been in the time of in the U.S. And everywhere I've gone, always the complaint has been the meal plan. And when I came here, it was the meal plan, and thankfully that's been addressed. So the other one I hear about is, as he mentioned, he had that interview with you and he feels disconnected. I would like to start at some point an international students club. Actually, I think it was last week Saturday, I invited you to my apartment where we just made some butter chicken and we tried to make Indian food. So like stuff like that, like it's just a thing of reaching out. That's one of the concerns, making sure that every student feels welcome here, in particular the international students as well. So an international students club where also other students could benefit, where they get to try our cuisines and whatnot, because they're amazing, would be something I would like to do as well. So yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say it. The trays. A lot of students want the trays back. I get why. I get why board trustees got rid of the trays, because it's cost effective and it saves water and stuff like that. But a lot of people have struggled, like spilling food on the ground and then having to go get back, or set their cups down, go get back to go grab like a spaghetti or sandwich for lunch. Another thing is making Tiger open more frequently, because on the weekends it's open like 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Like maybe like again like normal hours like 10:30 to 10 p.m. Make it more frequent, because let's say Cody has something at 3 o'clock and he doesn't have time to eat. He would have to go to either Common Grounds, which doesn't give a lot of food, by the way. Cody could get an entire meal there. I feel like it'd be more effective.
Okay, the biggest issues that I've heard about, first was the meal plan, but they've worked on that and I continue to work on that, so I think that's one's good. The other ones I've heard about are complaints about tuition and housing, but there's only so much students can do about that, because that's a thing that we could talk about, but that'd be a lot like bigger project to actually be able to get Res Life to work with us on that. And Josiah and others have mentioned like international students, like relations and stuff, and like being left out. For one, I think maybe like in the future, it could actually possibly be a solution to maybe not put international students in Hanson, because when you isolate them up in Hanson, I think it's naturally harder. It's naturally harder for them to like actually feel part of the community, because if you're like on like way out of the campus, you're not with anyone else who's not foreign, it's harder to actually feel relate, because you're not bumping into like people who like been here all the time. You're not in Sheldon, and you're not in Freeze. I mean, yes, some other people I know who are international students are in like Smith and others, but I think the problem is, like as Josiah mentioned, they don't have an outlet. We just got to connect them. We got to create like clubs and actually make sure that maybe like try to adjust ourselves, like ask what they want to do, or like just like show that we're interested in their culture and not just like say, hey, you're cool, you're in America. How about you learn American culture? We could be like appreciate their common cultures, because we talked about diversity. Stone, you talked about diversity. That's a great way to learn. Like have like maybe cuisine and stuff. Say like, hey, we give you the resources. Do you want to make a dish or like celebrate their festivals and stuff? That's a great way to like feel connected, and then they won't feel isolated, strangers, or feel like they have to like be like succumb to American like pressure.
Could you repeat the question?
Through your discussions with various students, what do you think the most common student concern is, and how would you address it?
I personally believe that, like, I think I've raised what like most of my what I've got from the community, what their problems were. I think a small one to go along with the food. Just a fun fact for the listeners out there: if you ask for a gluten-free pizza at the cafeteria, they will cook a pizza for you, a full pizza. It's good. It's good value. But I think that the biggest concern that I found was, and this speaks to what we talked about a little bit earlier with the guild, is that a lot of the events that we hold on campus, they're not like they don't really want to. The intentions are to include everybody, but the way that maybe if it's called a palooza or if it's called whatever, it's more of a party atmosphere. That's not going to attract everybody of all sorts. So maybe just having certain events that are a little toned down a little bit more. It's not as much social kind of interaction. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but just a little bit less social interaction, because that was a problem. You have people who are in the guild who, they get comfortable. They're not as social. They're not as comfortable being out there. They would consider themselves, and I've spoken with them, more of the misfits here on campus. They don't really think the way that everybody else thinks, and I think that having events and things that will bring in a more broad part of our community would be an awesome thing. Just be able to include everybody rather than just like a party atmosphere or something to where it's like we have the Jello shot thing. Not everybody's going to go to that just because of the implications of what that is. So just things that more people can come to.
Yeah. I'm a freshman. Me and my class came before the trays, so we don't know what it's like to have trays. So it's sad. I'm sure that's sad to you upperclassmen in the crowd. But so the biggest concern I've heard isn't actually the trays. I've heard a ton of concerns. One that stands out is no paper towels in the bathroom. But besides that, I think that all these small things that are important to making residents' life on Doane more comfortable for students, if we can realize and help students realize that they have a voice, that they can benefit from being involved, from coming to debates like this. Thank you, by the way, audience members who have patiently been here the whole time. From participating, staying up to tune on Doane student media, coming to student Congress meetings. We need to remind the students that they are important, they have a voice. Ultimately, they're the ones paying the bills around here. And if we remind them of that, I think we'll get a lot more people come out of the woodwork, realize, they can make changes, however big or small they may be. And we'll hear a lot more concerns, a lot more things they'd like to be changed. And we will be able to make those, one step at a time. I don't think every project's going to be a huge project that will take a year.
And stop taking our trash cans on Smith 3rd floor.
All right, so I had to take a couple of notes here because there's a lot of things going on campus. One thing to start off with the trays, as Nolan brought up, that's what I was going to bring up, that I hear about all the time. People maybe jokingly bicker about it. The thing is, we're trying to dispose of our waste at the end of the day when we're done eating dinner, lunch, breakfast, whatever. And you've probably noticed that sometimes it piles up, and that is a student concern that needs to be fixed and cleaned up. And so one of the things that Student Congress has worked on is trying to figure out a way that, with that old conveyor belt system, is how to try to get that cleaned out and perform in a more efficient way, how to get rid of the trays. Another thing to address is, along with the hours open for accessibility to food, is that's something that Student Congress has been working with, along with the meal plan changes. And one thing that you'll probably notice next year is that Simply to Go will be moved downstairs into the common grounds so that that is accessible from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. The thing with the international students that not a lot of people know is that there's also a group on campus that takes those international students out that aren't necessarily international students, but that are students that want to get to know those international students, and they can take them to a movie in South Point. And the thing with the gluten-free food, that is accessible, but students don't know it, and there is a fuzzy line there that they don't know that they can ask for that. And that all of this that I'm talking about just goes back to the question and the biggest issue that I think is that there's a bunch of misunderstandings and confusions amongst students and the Student Congress, and that those need to be clarified for next year. And as I believe it was Peter who was saying earlier, and some other people, that they are starting to have a growing confidence in our Congress. And I am proud to be a part of that this year, and I will be even more proud to continue making it a great Congress and a great Doan experience for everyone who decides to partake in that.
As far as the biggest concern I've heard serving on the Congress, I can only speak from experience and what students have brought forward to me, and that all pretty much dealt with the CAF and the situation with like meal exchanges and stuff like that. Cody touched on it pretty greatly there, though, about how we are working to change the hours operation for all three of our dining service options, as well as what will be provided in those options. So like now moving forward with the flex dollars or Doan dollars, we have coined them, that you'll have more options from Commons to get a more filling option. You won't have to get both things if you just want a muffin or you just want the drink. Also, you'll have bigger variety of food in Tiger starting next year, and the hour operations will be changed. And then also, like, another concern I've heard similar to Cody about like how students with food allergies and stuff like that will get their food. We talked about having during orientation weekend, maybe just like a workshop where we lead students through that. And, you know, if they have those food allergies, we just inform them that they have those options and just really get the word out to those folks specifically. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So.
All right, so some of the biggest concerns I've heard about, besides the meal plan, that's been hit on pretty well. First two that I want to talk about is, you know, we're paying this much and tuition is rising. Where's our money going? And I just wanted to let all the students know that it's not necessarily just Doan's not the only campus in the world raising tuition. That is a state policy. That is a national policy. So understand that Doan is not the only people doing that. Also, with the residence life, know that Doan is here to provide the best experience, and in their mission statement, they say they're going to provide a residential institution. So they're going to make people live on campus, and that's going to make Doan exactly what I think Doan is meant to be. But thirdly, an issue that I think Student Congress can hit on really well is when I was a freshman, the community living areas, so I'm talking Hanson, the quads, areas like that, they actually got their bathrooms cleaned on a weekly basis. And I think that is a huge issue for students, that especially when they run out of toilet paper. How awful is that when there's no toilet paper and things like that? And when it's just messy. College students are very busy, and it is hard to find an extra hour here and there to clean the bathroom to make it livable. So I think if Student Congress could look into that and maybe find a way to work with residence life and the cleaning facilities to make that better for students.
The last question comes from the audience.
One more question to you guys. We've talked a lot about integrating international students at Doan. However, what steps do you believe Stuco can take to integrate diverse students that are from the United States?
I think Stuco's actually made some great starts with that. There's actually been a new group started, Ubuntu, and that was through Wilma's office, actually, to start with that. Also with creation of idea, but that's not necessarily what Stuco's done. But Stuco's helped start this Speak series, bringing in people of different ethnicities, different cultures, and I think just raising the overall awareness of what it means to be diverse to the entire student body and continuing to do that would be a great way to help Doane know as a whole what it means to be maybe someone from a minority, but also a way to educate those people that they have a whole college here to support them.
Yeah, exactly what Dalton said about us bringing forth the Speak series and trying to raise awareness and give students the opportunity to maybe see things from a different perspective through the use of speakers. And just as he mentioned, helping IDEA get it started. That's a group that you guys can check out. And as well as I just put forth the idea that if students want to start their own group, put together a constitution, bring it forward to us. Let us discuss about if we think you have a valid point to start that group on campus, and then we can hopefully help you put on events like we did with a few other groups, help you get started, help you gain some power on the campus to allow you to do what you want to do and help bring diversity to students.
Yeah, Spencer hit on that really well, that Student Congress is here to help maybe financially, but also to help support groups or organizations that want to become groups, because the students already want diversity amongst those things. Like IDEA, you guys are doing a great job in cultivating this discussion that students want to have. They want to talk about these issues, and they don't really have an outlet for it. So as far as Student Congress doing something about it, we can definitely be there to support it, talk about it, help advertise for it, and where necessary, give allocations. And hopefully the students that are desiring those things will participate in them. And thank you again for asking this question and doing that organization. IDEA is a great thing.
Could you repeat your question real quick, please?
So, we've talked a lot about integrating international students to Doane. However, what steps do you believe Stuco can take to help integrate the diverse students that are from the U.S.?
Thanks. That's a hard question to answer. To be honest, I don't know if there is a lot more we can do than what we're already doing. What Stuco is already doing. I believe fully in supporting groups like IDEA and other groups that form. But in the end, I think it has to come down to the individual student. I don't think we can say, okay, we're going to bring in this many, people of each group, and we can't really enforce diversity. That will backfire on us every time. So I think giving opportunities for groups like IDEA, the Speak series, creating that opportunity, I think is probably the biggest thing we can do without messing it up, to be honest with you. Great question. Thank you.
Yeah, going back to, because there's a point I want to make on the last question, but I think in order for us to get more involvement of students, I think it's up to you guys. It's up to the students. It's up to the people that want to see the change. You have to show that you have a voice. You have to come up to Stuco. You have to, like you said, maybe draft the Constitution or do something like that, and be prideful of it and be passionate, and you have to be the one to push it through. So in regards to that, I think that's how involvement is. In regards to your question, I feel like what we kind of discussed earlier that I took some heat from, but I think that it's just getting our name out there, expanding as a brand, as Doane College or Doane University now, and getting our name out there rather than just being prideful that it is a small institution. That's great. That's awesome that we have, a smaller place. But I think involving more people and and I hold fast to what I believe, is that getting more people here that have more of a worldview, that have been outside of their small town. I know we have the travel abroad, and I know all that stuff, but that has lived in a society, lived in a culture that not only thinks in a one-track kind of way of this is what it is, and expanding the mind. That's why we're in college, is we want to come up against people that aren't just from a small town. And in getting that diversity and getting people from all over, I think that it's awesome. And if you bring one person in from California, you're bringing in an entire knowledge base of the world, because most of the times those are well-traveled people. If you bring somebody from New York, from all over, you're going to get a whole different kind of human being coming here rather than just a small town person. And I think that will add to our culture here and our society. Thank you.
I think the greatest way that we can aid assimilation of diverse students, whether it be religious views, race, or various other like differences or like sexuality, the greatest way we can do that is like understanding on those who are not in that diversity group. Because I feel like the greatest way to actually make everyone feel like they actually matter here is to make sure they understand like we accept them. And things like Donuts Love and various other events, like I think are great because it gets the voice out. But the problem is, when I went to events like that, the people that we really need to touch don't show up. And I sometimes like it almost concerns me because like when we're trying to get this message out, I still had to talk to people on campus about like some people were didn't understand like why Black Lives Matters exists and other things, and they like had a like passionate argument about this stuff. And the problem is a lot of times we get like clashing ideologies, and that can lead to like separation. And that makes it really hard for people who like don't think the way we do to like feel comfortable, because you don't want to talk about what you think if you feel like you're going to get ridiculed for that. So I think it's important to make sure like we make it like a passionate effort to make people feel like they actually matter, like to encourage that diversity, not just say we want diversity, but to make it sure that people think like diversity actually matters. And that's how you get people who are more diverse or don't think like us to actually come to Doan or stay at Doan or talk at Doan, because then they feel like they're not going to be targeted and they actually want to be part of the community then.
I think that we should have more discussions on Black Lives Matter, because if people have one-sided arguments, they're going to basically be like, oh, you're wrong the whole time. If we have like something like understanding certain events, like let's say we have a talk on the recent Belgium attacks, I think that'd be more like diversity, bringing in different views.
So as I had time to formulate some ideas as these guys spoke, and I also tried to listen to them as well. But I kept coming back, every time I formed the idea, I kept coming back to this aspect of, no, it's not Stuco that is increasing that diversity, but more the school. Like every idea I formulated, it was the school taking action, not necessarily Stuco. So I would say one of the things I think concretely right now would be Stuco working alongside the school, because I guess when you say increasing diversity, you mean having more people from diverse. Go ahead.
Not increasing, integrating. Like the students that are already here, how can you make them feel comfortable here?
Okay, gotcha. Now I gotta rethink the whole question. Well, then I guess these guys answered beautifully then. One of the, as I said, IDEA is a great group. I feel like these guys have answered the question. Then I thought of a totally different question. I'm sorry.
Something that Josiah mentioned there a little bit, and Stone definitely mentioned, is along with Espen's question, I think it's important that this is me as an individual speaking here, aside from Student Congress, that I want to hold all of you guys as students at Doan College accountable to things like that. And part of it goes by leading by example. And if I want others to be feeling welcome and integrated into a community, I've got to be the very first one to step up and say, hey, I appreciate you as a human being. Let's work together to get something accomplished. And then by me doing that, that's going to light someone else's light bulb. And then they're going to say, okay, all right, I can do this too. And then, wow, that's really bright light.
Thank you, gentlemen. That does it for tonight's debates. On behalf of Doan Student Media, I would like to thank this week's senator candidates, as well as last week's presidential and vice presidential candidates for sharing your time with us. Don't forget that presidential and vice presidential elections are taking place in front of the cafeteria April 7th and 8th. And senator elections take place 1 week after on April 14th and 15th. Doane Student Media encourages everyone to join the conversation and get involved in politics, not just on the national level, but at the Doane level as well. All you need to do for the StuCo election is fill out a ballot at the beige desk and drop it in a box. It's that easy and takes less than a minute. You don't need to be registered to vote. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, I'm Emily Hallstrom with Doane Student Media, and don't forget to vote.
Thank you for watching the Student Congress Senator debates. Remember to cast your vote at the beige desk April 14th and 15th.